Welcome to Julie Whitney Scott Presents Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God production sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1, the Green Renaissance Station. Let's Talk Theater. Welcome to Let's Talk Theater. I'm your host, Julie Whitney Scott, and I am so pleased to bring to my audience out there listening and watching on YouTube, Miss Leda Hoffman. Now, you guys have met her before on Let's Talk Theater, and you've seen her in the community, and she is coming back to talk to us about CATCO. Welcome back, Leda.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
I am so happy that you could be with us today, so you can talk to us about whatever it is that's going on at CATCO right now.
Yeah, well, it's the beginning of October and we are headed into our season. We started rehearsals just this week for Indecent by Paula Vogel. We've got an amazing group of actors and designers coming together to do that production that opens in November. And then we've got 3 more shows that are part of our subscription season at the Rife Center downtown. We've got 9 to 5, the musical. But You Could Have Held My Hand, a new play by Jacoby Johnson, and The Wolves, a play about a teen girls soccer team, and all of the various conversations that teenage girls love to have while they're getting ready to play soccer. And then, of course, our work for young people is really important to CATCO. Julie, I know you're involved in that work. We've got a new Works Festival for young audiences coming up in December. And of course, continuing all of our classes that happen in the education department as well. So those things happen at the Columbus Performing Arts Center, and just excited to be started. New school year, new season, lots of good things coming up.
Talk to us a little bit, since we talked about the last part about the school. School is started now, and I work with youth not only for CATCO in the Columbus Public School Systems. I'm also a youth playwright mentor for another theater company here, Mad Lab. And kids, they're back in school and they're starting to write. So tell our audience about your program that you have about the young writers. And what does that entail? And why are you doing that? Why is that so important? Talk to our audience about how important it is to make sure that as theater companies, we are doing things that are focused on our youth.
I think that a theater company that wants to be a part of a community shouldn't leave out a huge portion of the community, which are young people. And then I think, so many of us have had formative experiences as young people working in theater. And whether people go on to be theater or artists or not, really isn't the core point of CATCO's work. We hope that some of the people that we work with will, of course, fall in love with theater and grow up to be professional theater artists. We've got lots of programs for people who want to do that. I think the most important thing is that theater is this beautiful tool to help build empathy. That's a really core value at CATCO, to help you figure out how you relate to your fellow classmates, how you express your own creativity, what kind of stories do you want to tell. CATCO has contemporary in its name, right? Contemporary American Theater Company. Young people know what the world is that they're inheriting, and they want to talk about it. And so our work in schools, in classrooms, is working with students to create their own work, to write their own stories connected to the curriculum that they're working on during the school day with their teachers. And then a similar idea to bring in adult professional playwrights this December who are writing scripts that students can be in alongside adult actors. We do what we call age appropriate casting. So we cast people to match the age of the character. And that's a chance to see how professional playwrights are writing as you're acting in a production, and what kinds of possibilities are out there to create new work and to tell new stories.
Yeah, that's such an important piece, I believe, in the education, the theater education, because it helps with so many aspects of their life, social. It helps them be able to speak better,
Exactly.
get over some fears of being in front of an audience,
Mhm.
or being, and it also gives them a freedom for some of them to really be their self and act the way and act out characters that are in their heads anyway, and they're
Exactly.
living them. And you know how people always say, like, oh, you're the class clown, or you're the actor. It's like, it gives those people a chance to really get out there and show, like, you know what, I am an actor.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right. And yeah, and a different way of communicating and a different way of thinking, right, than a lot of the work that students are asked to do, which is like sit down at your desk, right, and participate. When we do theater, we get to get people up on their feet, using their bodies to tell stories. And I know that I've seen, as my work as a teaching artist, that's just been so helpful to students.
So Indecent is coming up.
Yeah.
Now, I was at a reading the other day, and I mentioned, and one of the actors, Ryan, was part of that reading. And he was saying that he's coming up and he's going to be an Indecent. And right away, one of the other younger actors said, oh, I want to say that. And we all laughed. I said, so, oh, is it the title Indecent is intriguing you, or do you just want to go see, because Ryan's in it? And
Yeah.
because of, that word indecent, it
Mhm.
right there sparks like, but I don't know if this indecent is what people are thinking of, because they're
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
they're thinking one thing. And I like that about the title anyway, because it does conjure up all kind of things when you think about indecent. What is that?
Right. Yeah.
So
But
talk to us.
Paula Vogel has put out this really provocative title to get people to ask more questions. And the whole play investigates what is indecent and who gets to decide. Right. So issues of censorship, right? We're talking a lot about censorship right now in the world. Right. Who gets to decide what is an appropriate play? What kind of play should happen? Indecent follows the story of this play originally written in Yiddish by Sholem Asch in the early 1900s called God of Vengeance. And it was produced all over Europe, moved to New York after a off-Broadway run, moved to Broadway. And it's the first play on Broadway where two women kissed. And the very next day, the police shut it down. There was a very famous trial about whether or not this play was indecent, right? What can you show on stage? And the artists involved in the production, especially the playwright, have to think about what kinds of stories you tell, who you tell them to, right? Who's hearing this story? Do you tell a story differently when you're telling it inside a community versus outside of a community? There's a debate the entire course of the play about, can you show Jewish people as imperfect if you're going to present work to a non-Jewish audience, right? And as we know what happens in the 20th century, as we are headed towards the Holocaust, what is the responsibility of artists to tell their truths, but also to present their community in a good light? And I think we talk about that about a lot of different, demographic groups now and have throughout history. What kind of work is decent, right? What kind of work, creative work, feels safe? And what kind of creative work is beautiful and telling honest and real stories that need to be told? We talk about this in the art community. We talk about it in the theater community, right? Novels, poets. I think all artists have asked this question. And by focusing on this one very specific story, I think the play Indecent allows us to think about these questions of what decency looks like in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said, because it's so right. What is indecent to people? What's
Exactly.
indecent to one is not to another.
Mhm.
And we are in a time, and I think that the timing of Indecent coming out right now, it ties in because it's coming right after the ban the books,
Exactly.
thing, where that's strongly put it is based on what people think
Uh-huh.
is indecent for children to read,
Right.
and so I think that this play also, it helps put it in, I think, that in all areas, people can, especially of art, you know, which is such a, it's something that it's an individual thing. I read a poem one way, you read it another.
Yeah.
You know, I see a abstract piece of art as, oh, look at this brilliant, I see it's flowers, and there's oh, see, look at all those beautiful birds. And somebody else sees that same abstract piece and they're like, nah, that's not what I see. What I see is just a bunch of colors thrown up there. Maybe it's a rainbow, you know, just
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
you know, we all see things differently in anything, and especially when it comes to indecency.
Right. And who gets to decide? Who's right? Whose job is it to decide what is decent? Right. And the power of that, right? And you see that playing out in this play of, you know, where the power lies, and the power doesn't lie with the artists who are making the decision, you know, who are actually doing the play. The power lies outside of that.
I think Indecent is a very important piece of work because number one is it's based on true life. Number one, I think it's always important sometimes to remember, you know, because if we don't remember our history, it will repeat itself.
Exactly.
As a well-known quote that it will repeat itself if you don't remember some things that have happened and the consequences of the thoughts and the actions of those people, those you know, ahead of us. So Indecent's coming up. I want to ask you about your upcoming season.
Yeah.
And with the upcoming season, this season was focused a lot on individual families of different backgrounds and cultures and stuff, and kind of like in that circle, which is great. You know, we don't see stories like that and we need those type of stories. But I'm just wondering with CATCO, is it still going to be on that same type of, are you still doing that with these stories that are going to be presented, or where are we at? Are we still doing that? Are we intertwining, bringing people together? Tell us about I'm excited. What's the season going to be?
Yeah, I think what you can see in this season is a mix of both. I think it's important to have some culturally specific stories, right? Indecent is an example of that. Indecent is a specifically Jewish story that I think has a lot of universal themes for lots of people who are going to come see it. But I think it is important that a theater season includes some stories that can be really specific to a certain time and place, to a certain culture. And I think it is also very important to see plays where it feels like we're representing a much broader cross-section of our community. So that's something that we're going to do with 9 to 5. You know, we know Dolly Parton. We know the world that Dolly Parton represents. And just so excited to bring her music, of course, to the CATCO stage. But then in casting 9 to 5 and putting together the creative and design team for 9 to 5, thinking a lot about whose story is this to tell? And at the end of the day, it's a story of women in the workplace and people coming to work. And so we have a multiracial cast, you know, age diversity in the cast, trying to think about, you know, who gets to tell a story of workplace equality. Workplace equality is not just about gender. Right. We also know that workplace equality is about race. 9 to 5, the original source material, touches on it a tiniest little bit. And I think just the way that you're going to see us cast this production, we're going to be thinking about those issues a little more in the front of this production, and a chance for people to come and see a beautiful cross section of Columbus represented on stage in a play.
And 9 to 5, that's carrying on from like the theme of Indecent. It's carrying on to the next, I think, theme of sexism. And because that's very strong. It's very strong. And for me, 9 to 5, that's what it represented when it first came out. Was women working hard, making the decisions behind the scenes, keeping it together, doing all these things, and the man keeping them down, taking the credit,
Yep.
pushing them out, that whole sexism.
Mhm.
And so, when you tie that in there, and then you tie in the biasm and what's the word I want to use? Basically, prejudice
Mhm.
towards people who aren't who you think they should be, or who don't have the same sexual preference that you think they should have. When you tie all that into the woman trying to be who she wants to be in a world that's dominated by men,
Yeah.
that I believe that's going to be relevant for a long time to come.
Yeah, exactly. And and I also think that something that's important to me is that we can look at these stories too with a lot of joy, right? Because all of the things that we just talked about are really hard things, right? They're things that weigh on us, that we have to carry into conversations and in workplaces. And people are going to come see 9 to 5 who have just had terrible days at work where they've experienced sexism. But the thing about 9 to 5 is it is funny, it is joyous, the women get what they want at the end, and we get to celebrate the things that women can do. And that celebration, I think, is really important. And hopefully it does both, right? It helps people address the core issues that are happening in our world and in our society. And it also gets them to do that through a really, really good time at the theater.
Yeah, 9 to 5. I mean, like you said, you get that music, that comedy, that being able to deliver them hard punches about what's really happening in a way that it's just, that people can sit back and go, oh, okay, because the truth of the matter is that's what gets and has gotten women is having a sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's having a sense of humor and making a way for us to have happiness regardless,
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
that's the way I think about that. So then we got Indecent, and then 9 to 5, and then what's the next one?
And then, But You Could Have Held My Hand, which is by Jacoby Johnson, is a brand new play. We will be the second production of this play ever. There's a production at a university in Texas happening this fall, and then we're up next. So like we did with Prima Donna last year, really want to support new playwrights, work that was written right for this moment. And I love this play. It's about 4 friends and their friendship throughout time. So you see the same 4 actors play themselves as 10-year-olds and play themselves all the way through high school and into their 20s and 30s and 40s. And you see what happens to this group of people as life pushes forward, and loss and marriage and divorce and and who your friends are, right? Who stays there through, struggles with addiction, questions of gender identity, right? Parental struggles, right? All of the things that life throws at you, these friends are there for each other and have to figure out how to be there as that dynamic changes. And the great thing about this show is that all of those things are packed into this one 90-minute play that can jump very quickly throughout time. There's really beautiful and incredible roles for actors here. There's dance and there's music and a really sense of theatricality to the way that this play moves through this story.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing. Friendships. I have friends that I've had for a long time, through teens, and luckily they're still here.
Yep.
And then I have no friends who have lost their friends that that they knew through childhood.
Yep.
We went to elementary school together, and go through all those cycles. So that sounds like a really good show that's going to give us and teach us the values of friendship and acceptance.
Mhm.
You know, I get a lot from that play, with accepting people as they are and still being loyal to them,
Yeah.
in spite of other people, you know, you sticking with your friend. And
Mhm.
that's really hard sometimes for some people. So that, I think that's going to be
Yeah.
good.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to go from Dolly Parton, hey,
Right.
yeah, we got you, sucker.
Yep.
Reel him in. You know. To, you know, like, let's think about our lives,
Yeah.
you know, and where we've been and where we want to go, and
Uh-huh.
about our relationships now
Yeah.
with people who we are still here, and you have a chance to maybe mend some relationships, you know, maybe just fix some things.
Exactly. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the three.
And then the wolves, and then we finish
The
the season today
wolves.
with the wolves, which is you just follow these members of a teen girls, club level soccer team, indoor soccer. So we're going to build a soccer field in Studio 2. We've got the actors practicing their soccer skills already, looking so that they can be really good in the spring.
Wait a minute. Do I need to wear a mask or something? You're going to put the screen up for us?
Yeah, well, yeah,
for
we
the
will make
audience
sure that we will
members?
not kick the soccer balls into the audience. So no, yeah, we as we're talking as a design team, right, trying to figure out, okay, how do we make sure that no one gets hit with a soccer ball while they're watching this play? So you're going to see some, some real soccer, and then you're also going to see them talking about their lives as they're warming up and getting ready for games. And anyone who saw Schoolgirls or the African Mean Girls play last year knows the power of a play that just gives an honest voice to teenage girls and the things they're going through and the things they're thinking about and how they deal with each other. And so I'm hoping that the wolves can pick up a lot of that conversation, right, and carry it forward now, looking at this group of girls who plays soccer and seeing what their lives look like.
Now, what do you say to the people that say, wow, all these are women plays? Where are the men? Because
I have heard that.
You know it's coming.
I know. And it's funny because I did, that wasn't remotely on purpose. It's just the thing that happened as we kept discovering these plays that we love. Wolves and 9 to 5, I think, have the most women forward bent. Indecent and But You Could Have Held My Hand have more gender balanced casts. But it's just also a true joy to get to tell stories that are focused on female protagonists, because you don't get to see that often, right? When there are a lot of plays in the world where the men are the most important characters, and I think playwrights and artistic directors who are thinking about the shape of a season are starting to flip that a little bit, so that now it's time for folks to see women as the main characters in stories as well.
That is an excellent comeback, because that is the truth, and yes, yes.
Yeah.
But once the theater company theater companies are finally realizing that they need to make and produce more works that have women in it.
Exactly.
And that pertain to the woman as the hero and not the supporting cast.
Exactly.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's usually what it is. It's usually the male is the protagonist, like you said. And for those young people out there that aren't in theater, don't know, the protagonist is the hero of the show. And we don't get that. We don't have a lot of heroes of the shows that are produced in film or in the theater that give the woman the voice that
it's something I actually wish it didn't have to feel special, right? So when people go, oh, is the theme of your season women? I go, no, there should never be a theme of your season as women, because women should always have a strong voice in a season. And so trying to share with people that actually this season is how I hope all theater seasons can look. I think that's the world that all of us are working towards, so that, it doesn't have to feel special when, or if you have a design team that's all women, that's right now a unique thing to happen in the theater. And the times that that's happened in my life, I've actually tried really hard to make it not a big deal, because it should happen. We don't talk about when design teams are all men because it doesn't feel special. So it doesn't need to, right? We can just make it reality.
Yeah. You don't hear men saying, hey, let's go check out that man film. They don't say that. They say, we're going to look at this action film. They don't say words like that, but then let it be of anything that has a woman, and all of a sudden it's a chick flick, or is that like, huh? Why must we be labeled? Why isn't it just, hey, let's go look at this movie, let's go see this play, and not have that, like you said, chick flick,
right? Yeah.
I don't want to go see that. That's for women. Why? Just because women aren't? Oh, you don't live with women? You're not married to a woman? You don't have daughters? It's like, you don't know what they want to think. So I'm glad that that's your response.
Yeah.
Because that's my response.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Right. Exactly.
Well, Leda, as usual, this has been a really great talk. We got some good stuff that we're going to be looking forward to coming out next year at CATCO. And I would like for you, before we leave, to number one, tell people how they can get this information.
Yeah, the easiest way to find out about CATCO's whole season is to go to catco.org, CATCO.org. And we've got lists of all of the plays that we have coming up, the education classes that you can sign up for. We've got education classes for young people all the way through adults. Our New Works Festival that's coming up. So that's the best way to find out about all the different ways you can get involved with CATCO. And if there are artists out there listening, please reach out to us, share the work that you're doing. We'd love to get involved with what you're working on. Really, our door is open. The staff of CATCO, our contact information is on the website, and we love hearing from people.
Okay. And the last thing I want you to do is give somebody out there a word of encouragement. I don't care what kind it is. This is Let's Talk Theater. So with all your experience and stuff, what would you just throw out there, something based on what we talked about today? That's a word of encouragement to somebody listening today.
Yeah, I'd say that, if you're somebody who thinks that there's a story that needs to be told out there, whether it's a story from history, like Indecent, or a story of something that's happening right now in your life, write it down, get together with your friends, make a play, tell that story, create your own one-person show, get together with 20 of your friends and go out in front of the place you live and tell the story for anyone who will walk by on the street. I think it's important that people don't wait to get their story told. And there are always ways, I think that's the beauty of theater, to figure out how to tell your story, what it is you want to do, and no one will know about it until you put it out there and make it happen.
Well, that's some really good advice out there for you future and current playwrights, future storytellers. That's good advice. Thank you so much, Leda, for being with me again on Let's Talk Theater.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you for joining me, Julie Whitney Scott, your producer and host of Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God Productions sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1. For the full video interview, go to my Julie Whitney Scott Facebook page.